Micromanagement is every employee's worst nightmare, and many managers, you included, probably don't want to be one. Unfortunately, so many of us managers tend to fall into some aspect of micromanagement, especially in the early years when we're still trying to figure things out because we want things to be done well, because we're really used to being an individual contributor, and sometimes we actually think that it's going to help our team. The more that we do, the easier we make work for them. Unfortunately, that's really not how it works. And in today's episode, I want to share some signs that you might be falling into some micromanagement tendencies and how you can move through it so that you can alleviate your own workload and get the most out of your team and out of your people. Because this is something that we really need to pay attention to. If micromanagement tendencies and actions get out of hand, you can really impact your team. You can turn them from being a really high-performing team to being one where they're completely disengaged, they become disgruntled in the work that they're doing, and possibly they leave, maybe even more likely. So understanding and recognizing what some signs of micromanagement might be and noticing if you might be falling into some of those tendencies can help you nip it in the bud early so that you can get the best out of yourself and get the best out of your team. So in today's episode, I'm going to share what some signs of micromanagement is, why this matters, and why this is something that we need to really think about. Also, I'm going to just briefly talk about the line between actively managing your team and micromanaging your team, because there is a little bit of a fine line there. And then I'm also going to share how you can actually move through it, how you can overcome it, and how you can set your team up for success and get the best out of them. So let's jump on in. What are some signs that you might be micromanaging? The first one is you are involved in every piece of work and in every single meeting that your team is involved in as well. So if you are sitting in on every single meeting and you have another team member in that meeting, there might be some micromanagement happening here. And if you are involved in all of the details of all of the work that your team is doing to the point where they can't actually get stuff done without checking in with you, without you being across everything, there might be some micromanaging happening there. Now, this is not to say that you are involved in meetings and you might be bringing a member of your team along as part of their growth and development. Absolutely makes sense that you were there and they're there because it's a growth and development opportunity. However, if one of your team members is actually completely capable to run this meeting or to participate in this meeting and you don't need to be there, that is the sign that we need to take a step back, that this team member can actually run this meeting by themselves. The next sign of micromanagement that might be coming up is you make every single decision. When your team members can't get anything done because you need to always be the one that gives sign off or always be the one that has to say yes or no to things, this is a major sign of micromanagement. And this can happen for a couple of reasons. Either your team thinks that you want to and have to make all of these decisions and that you need to be involved in them, or they don't feel capable to make them themselves, which can be a byproduct of you being overly involved in the first place. So if you might be saying things like, make sure you run that by me before you go ahead, or make sure that I've checked that off, or make sure that I've approved that before you go to the next step, that can create that sense of, oh, okay, we can't do this unless Tash says yes, or we can't do this until Tash has given the go ahead, especially on things that are actually quite trivial and don't need your involvement as a manager in. This can cause huge bottlenecks because if you're really busy, if you're away sick, or if you are involved in other big pieces of work and are not as approachable or as accessible to your team, this can cause a lot of roadblocks, a lot of bottlenecks and things moving forward. And also, if you are consistently the one making all of the decisions, it can create this lack of trust in your team to be able to do it themselves, and also a lack of self-trust in them being able to make decisions on their own. They're not going to be as likely of problem solving on their own, finding solutions, or being accountable to what they're doing because there's this common practice that's happening where you are involved in all of the decisions. And look, there are absolutely necessary decisions that only you can make because of maybe the amount of money that it costs, or because of the level of project or the level of client that it involves. There are absolutely going to be some decisions that only you can make and that you have to be involved in. Absolutely. There are also a lot of other decisions, a lot of other things that can happen without your every involvement. There are so many things that your team can feel empowered to do on their own and get things done without you constantly being involved. Really pay attention to what are all of the decisions that you're making? What are all of the things that your team is coming to you for? And are they necessary? Is this a decision that so and so could make on their own? And then another sign that you could be micromanaging is that your team is consistently asking you for more work, but you seem to be completely overwhelmed. And this tends to happen quite a lot if you're relatively new to management, or there's a lot of projects where it might feel like, oh, it just seems like hard work trying to delegate this or pass this on to someone else. It's just easier if I do myself. But then you're left with this ginormous workload that you're never getting through, but your team don't seem to be as busy as you. This is a sign that you are possibly holding on to more work than you are meant to. So there are plenty of things that your team could be taking off your plate that you could be delegating to them that could lighten your load so that you're actually focusing on the strategic, more meaningful work, and so that you actually have the space to properly lead your team. They have more work that really helps their growth and development, that allows them to play to their strengths and then also grow and fill in gaps that they're looking for in order to build their career growth and build their skill set. So if you are constantly overwhelmed, you're constantly frazzled with all of the work that you've got on, and your team keeps asking for more responsibilities, keeps asking to help with things, that might be a sign that you're holding too tightly to the work and that you're not giving your team the autonomy and the workload to enable them to do a really great job. This list is not exhaustive. There are so many other signs, but these are the top 3 that could really be showing up for you. And that tend to show up the most in those early years of management when we're still trying to find our feet. We're still trying to figure out who we are, how we want to lead, and how we want to best support our team and our people to do that. So this is something that we talk about a lot in VIP Leaders, my leadership development program, because these are things that we aren't explicitly taught when we step into leadership, but they're things that really do become our everyday reality. And we need to learn the strategies and the signals that these things are coming up so that we can start moving through them and start creating change. Why does this matter if I might be micromanaging sometimes? Like, I'm still a great boss, my team is still doing good work. Look, micromanagement is not the most horrific thing that you could do, let's be honest. However, it could over time create an unhappy and a toxic culture. Because at the end of the day, people want to do great work. They want to tap into their skill set. They want to grow. They want to develop. And in order to do that, they need a manager who is willing to let go of work, who is willing to create space and give autonomy for people to do good work. So if you want a high performing team, you want a team that delivers results, you want a team that creates great outputs, you want a team that the rest of the business looks at and goes, wow, you've got an amazing team. They do great work. If you want a team like that, you need to be a manager that delegates work, that steps back and allows their team the autonomy and the power to make their own decisions, to make mistakes, to get things wrong, to figure it out without you hand holding everything or without you hoarding all of the workload. And look, this is not your fault. This stuff is not taught when we step into leadership for the first time. And these are things that we need to learn and develop and build our skill set on so that we can really step into being a great leader. I want to talk about the line between active management and micromanagement. So something that I hear all the time is, but I need to make sure that my team is still doing their work. And we also don't want to make sure that we become such a laissez-faire leader where we take complete step back and we're not doing anything to support our team. That's not what I'm advocating for. Active management is when we set clear expectations, we delegate properly, we have proper check-ins, we do proper coaching with our team so that they know what's expected, they know how to deliver, and we're keeping an eye on what's happening. We're checking in and reviewing milestones and things like that so that things are on track and so that we get the information that we need to feel good about where things are. That's active management. Micromanagement is when we're overly involved in everything and we're actually making it harder for our team to do their own jobs. There is a huge difference there. And so this is really also about knowing your team, knowing who are the people on your team. There are going to be some people in your team who need less active management. So they still need clear expectations. They still need to know what they need to deliver, but they can really just go on their own and be quite autonomous and just deliver really great work. There might be other people on your team who really do want a lot more active management. They want to have regular check-ins. They want to soundboard with you. They want to know what your thoughts and ideas are so they can keep moving forward. So it's about you learning how to adapt the way that you lead for the people that you're leading, because it's not going to be exactly the same for every single person. And there are going to be different styles that you lean into in order to get the best out of your people. And I do have a leadership style quiz where you can find out what kind of leadership style you have, whether you're the visionary, the connector, the coach, or the diplomat. And you can find the link to that in the show notes so that you can do the quiz in 3 minutes. You'll be able to find out what your style is and what the strengths and gaps are that you can work on. So you can find that in the show notes as well. All right. So that is the line between active management and micromanagement. You'll know if you pay attention to these signs, if you pay attention to your team, if you pay attention to what is happening day in, day out, you will be able to get insight into what is happening. All right. What do you do about it? If you recognize, oh my gosh, maybe I am micromanaging a little bit, or oh my goodness, I never want a micromanagement ever. I want to make sure that I'm a really good active manager and I'm a really great leader for my people. What do you do about it? How do you do this? I'm going to share 4 things that are absolutely going to solve this for you. There are 4 steps that are going to allow you to lead and manage in a way that is super supportive to your team and super supportive for you. The first thing, set clear expectations. I talk about this all the time because it is the fundamental thing for management. If you set clear expectations with your people around what success looks like, what done looks like, what the timeline is for them to do the work, what it looks like for them to check in, keep you updated, what the clear ask is. So, what is it that you're really asking for? You are setting up the framework for them to be able to do great work. And every time you delegate a piece of work, your expectations up front is going to be the make or break in how that person delivers that work. If your expectations are well thought out, they're clear, they're well communicated, your person is going to do their best to live up to them. Absolutely. Right? We want to make sure that we set them up for success. That comes back to how well your expectations are set and how well they're communicated. So if you want to know how to set expectations really well, we dive into this really deeply in the VIP Leaders program, where you will actually learn the step-by-step process on how to set expectations. And we're going to do some experimenting as well to really test it with you. The second step that's really important is giving feedback. Now, giving feedback is really important in real time, right? We want to build a culture where we are regularly and consistently giving feedback, not only when things aren't working or in our 3-month performance reviews or in our 6-month performance reviews, but that it's forming a regular part of the conversations that we're having with our team. When we're having check-ins with them, hey, like, I'm noticing that this is happening. This is the output that you gave, or this is the result, or this is the work that you delivered. How do you think it went? Okay, I noticed that this was missing. How about we look at what we need to include next time? And we also dive into giving feedback explicitly in the VIP Leaders program. So, really learning how to do this really well. But giving feedback is so important, making it specific and making it timely. So, making sure that it's happening regularly. The third thing, holding people accountable. One of the reasons why we tend to micromanage is because for some reason, we may not trust people to do a great job, whether that's from our own experience from the past, whether that's our inability to let go of control, or whether maybe someone in our team hasn't quite delivered in the past. And so that's tainted maybe our trust that they'll be able to deliver in the future. But the way that we navigate this is setting clear expectations, giving feedback, and then holding people accountable. If you set expectations with people and you're expecting them to follow through on a certain thing, hold them accountable to that. Make sure that they do follow through on those things. And if they don't, make sure that you're giving that feedback. Make sure that you're resetting those expectations. Make sure that you're having those conversations with them so that you can understand why they didn't deliver, really holding people accountable. And we want to make sure that we have a team where high accountability is at the core of your team dynamic. Because when you have a team of people who are really accountable, who make sure that they're delivering well, that they're following through, that they're meeting expectations, you're going to have a team that delivers great results. But this comes back to you as a leader, making sure that you're holding people to account. And sometimes that can be uncomfortable. Sometimes giving feedback can be uncomfortable. Sometimes setting expectations can be uncomfortable. But that is the whole point of leadership. That is your responsibility. That is your role, is making sure that you are setting clear expectations, giving feedback, and holding people accountable to what they say they're going to do and what they're required to deliver. And the fourth thing that is going to really nip micromanagement in the bud is recognizing wins. The more that you practice recognizing wins and giving praise feedback, the more people are going to develop their trust in themselves to deliver great work. And the more that you're actually going to recognize that your team are really good at what they do, that they know how to do their jobs, that they can do a really great job. And so the more that you can recognize wins and make this such a key part of the way that you lead your team, it's actually going to help with holding people accountable, because when they feel recognized for the good work that they're doing, for the wins that they're getting on the board, they're more willing to be accountable because they can see that it actually matters. They can see that it's valued. The more that we recognize wins, the easier it becomes to give feedback, because people are on balance, hearing what is going really well, hearing what's working, so that when we need to talk about what needs to change or what needs to improve, it's balanced. They're not just constantly hearing about all the things that aren't working, all the things that they need to change. It's being balanced by the things that are working, the things that they're doing really well. And again, recognizing wins helps that feedback process. Plus, recognizing wins also helps with setting expectations, because when we recognize the wins of them meeting expectations, of them doing their work really well, they're also more willing to actually meet expectations. They're more willing to engage in setting expectations, conversations, because they know that their work is valued. They know that what they deliver is valued. Recognizing wins is such a great practice for everything else. And it makes such a huge difference to how people then are willing and want to show up for you. So, those are the four things that if you start practicing that, you will reduce your micromanagement tendencies or reduce the likelihood that you are a micromanager. And that is, I'll just share them again. Number one, setting expectations. Learn how to set them well and to communicate them clearly. Number two, giving feedback, both praise and constructive feedback, making sure that it's timely and that it's consistently being given, not waiting for big milestone moments. Number three, holding people accountable. The more that you hold people accountable, the more that they're willing to step up. And holding people accountable is part of setting expectations. So making sure that people are following through and doing what they say they're going to do. This also applies to you. And then number four, recognizing wins. The more that you recognize wins, the more that people feel valued and appreciated, the more that they see that their work is paying off, that it's making a difference, the more willing they're going to be to deliver really great results, the more willing they're going to be to step up, participate, take ownership, all of the things that high-performing teams require. So there you have it. That is what's going to help you move through micromanagement and to avoid becoming a micromanager in the first place. And as I mentioned, VIP Leaders is going to be opening very soon for enrollment. So if these are skills that you really need to learn and that you want to practice, and you want to do it with a group of other leaders who are on the same journey as you, the VIP Leaders program is going to be your best bet. It's 3 months, 6 key skill topics with weekly live coaching calls to help you move forward, get great results, and drive a high-performing team. So if you want to know more, head down into the show notes, click the link to VIP Leaders, and you will find all of the information to join this next round that is starting very soon in June. Hey, that's all from me today. Thank you so much for listening to Lead with Less. It means the world to me if you could take a moment to leave a rating and a review on Apple, or just rate with 5 stars on Spotify. It means a lot to the growth and the expansion of the podcast. And if you know any other people leaders who could do with a dose of inspiration to level up their leadership skills, then please forward on this podcast to them. I would really appreciate it. And as always, if you have any feedback or have any thoughts, please message me on LinkedIn, Instagram, or email. I'd love to hear from you.